Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the entree musician, and so are you. And so is this young brother that we are going to introduce to you. I am so grateful to know someone else. That's why I'm rocking the Ohio State. Someone else who is doing it really strong here in Ohio and making it happen. This brother is a composer, a music producer, and is very, very steeped into sync licensing. I'm just meeting him for the first time. Grateful to do so. This is Walter Bowie. Brother, how you doing, man?
I'm blessed and highly favored, man. I appreciate you having me. I've been watching you from afar. Mutual friend of ours has been telling me about you for at least a year now.
Wow.
Robbie, and
Robbie.
yeah, so he's like I'm like a mentor to him, and
Hmm.
so he's been telling me about you. So I'm honored to be here with you, brother.
Well, I appreciate your time, man. I know your schedule's tight, and so you being able to fit us in is right on point. And yeah, we do want to shout out Robbie, who is like doing his thing. He's a fellow entre
Yeah,
musician and is just like really clocking it, you know?
yeah, very gifted brother. And then, like I said, I'm really stoked that you're rocking the Ohio State gear.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly, you got to represent.
Yeah, representing, man. We have two, my wife and I, we have three daughters, and our two oldest graduated from Ohio State, both with their master's degree, and have gone on to do some great things. And yeah, I mean, I'm lifelong Ohio. I know that you're a transplant from another state. We'll get into that story in just a few minutes, man. But yeah, born and raised, and here we go, you
All
know?
right.
So, Mr. Bowie, how long have you been a musician? Because I've been able to sample a lot of the stuff that you grace us with online, and I am perplexed. I love it. I think it's engaging, and I think that you hit the nail on the head every time you drop something. So, how long have you been involved as a musician?
Uh, well, it started in church. I was actually a singer. I sang in my father's church from probably from the time I was 10, until to wherever, and even to when I moved to Columbus. And growing up, I played different instruments. Ironically, my first instrument, I always wanted to play saxophone. But when I was in my middle school at the time, I had what they call pneumonia of the lungs, that kind of a respiratory thing. So I wasn't able to blow that type of instrument. So I had to settle, I thought at the time I had to settle for a flute. Then I went to a clarinet, and then I played saxophone for probably about 6, 7 years. I played tenor saxophone. Then from there, I went to bass guitar. Uh, Always kind of played keys. My parents tried to give me piano lessons, but I never really liked that because I didn't like playing other people's stuff. I always want to play my own thing. So that didn't last long. So I kind of dabbled all during my coming up years and in high school, but I was probably really more of a singer and a bass player. And then probably around my college years in my early 20s is when I really kind of started trying to write songs and be a quote unquote producer. Probably when I was, I don't know if you remember the old false text
Oh,
X50 cassette player. Yeah, I was
yes.
one of the first to get one. I think that was like '83. So
Right.
dating myself. So, so that's what I was start doing at, and I really just start honing in on recording and getting instruments and stuff like that. I think one of my first keyboards was like I had a Roland Juno 106 and I had a Ensoniq ESQ1.
Hmm.
So I just started, just kind of dabbling. I don't claim myself to be a real player, but I'm able to get musical ideas and put stuff together. So that's kind of my pathway of been doing that. So
I wish I had known about the Juno 106. Mine is up on the third floor. I still have it. It's a
oh
it's a
wow,
it's a
that's a
dear
classic
heart.
right there.
And I didn't get the Unsonic, the ESQ, but I did get the Mirage. So you remember the Mirage
Oh
with
yeah,
the disc, the floppy disk and whatnot. So we can both date ourselves a little bit.
awesome machine.
Absolutely. And so you were how to 14, 15, 16, your formative years and getting involved in the music scene, or did it
Yeah,
start after that?
I was just playing like in like in the school band, stuff like that. And then fortunately my choir director at my church, he was also in the public school system back in Illinois, and he would recruit myself and some other guys to play for his little youth choir. And so he had a choir that was he was over like the freshman chorus at the high school, and we were actually out of high school.
I see.
But every year they would tour. The freshman choir would tour all of the middle schools in our city to recruit these seventh and eighth graders when they came to high school to be in the band. So they would go to, so it was like a little tour. It was a day tour where in the city where we might start like at 8 a.m. and go to like 5, 6, in the evening. We'd go around all these schools, and he would, hire, well, we weren't getting paid. We would just be in this backup musicians. And so that's how I would play for him, his little group too. So that's kind of how we, did that early on. And then, like I said, I kind of gave up. I sold my key. Well, I didn't have a keyboard. I had a bass guitar. I sold that, and it's kind of when I was in college, I was mainly doing DJing.
Ah,
That was the big thing, in college. That's house music. If you're familiar with the house music scene, which started in Chicago, which was kind of where I'm from, that was a big thing back then, and then from there, I just kind of, as I got older, a little older, I started just buying instruments
hmm.
and equipment. Probably like when I was like in my uh I was probably like 21, 22 when I started buying my first keyboard and recording equipment and really started trying to produce. I never had a I never had the unction of like some people, oh, I want a record deal. I never wanted to do that. I wanted to kind of be behind the scenes. Me and my Yeah, so I never, because this is my personality. I don't I'd rather be the person that's, and I'm satisfied with doing the music behind the scenes. So uh, me and my partner, my it's funny because my producer name back then at the time was called PC, and,
PC.
and the PC stood for producer of cuts, because
Oh, right.
everything I laid down, it was gonna be a jam, so they called me PC.
Wow. Wow. Was that before you came to Ohio, or while you were still in Illinois,
Oh,
or did you pick up
that was
everything?
before I came to Ohio, and right when I came to Ohio. But like I
Wow.
said, I was doing that. My partner and I, we had some moderate success when we first came here to Ohio. We were mainly working with different groups and local bands, helping people groups and people do demos and tapes and all those type of things. So that's how we was getting revenue. Uh, without having to have a real job, quote unquote, day job, because we were just helping everybody else, producing and stuff. And then I actually, there was a point in my life where I gave all music, I gave it up completely. And then I came back to it years ago, years after.
So I'm going to ask you why. I have a premonition as to
Hmm.
why I know that being a man of faith, when I was called into the ministry, I just kind of felt as if, and I'm not putting this on you, but it's a premonition that, people of faith kind of walk through, when we surrender. And I'm saying, I was out there, quote unquote, in the world playing music, and Lord, so I'm going to be with you and for you. And I just set everything down, set my drumsticks down for about 3 years, and then getting a conviction from Holy Spirit that, well, I didn't tell you to do that.
Yeah.
You did
Well,
that. That
it's
was what
funny
you
that you
did,
say that. Your premonition is right, because like I said, I wasn't like out playing in clubs or anything like that. I never did that, but we were just producing worldly music. And I just came to a point. I said, Lord, I said, I'll give all this stuff up. I'll sell all my equipment. I won't do anything. And I wanted to do. I told the Lord, I said, I want to do some music that you would own up to. Now I'm a PK. If y'all don't know that, in internet land, I was a preacher's kid. I've been in church all my life, so I knew all the cliche and all the words to say to get people up and down. But my thing is I don't want to be politically correct. I want to be BC. I want to be biblically correct because unfortunately, a lot of Christian slash gas music, gospel music, is neither. I mean, it's neither. You know, when you listen to the lyrics, it's not biblical at all. So I said, Lord, I want to do this for you.
Yeah.
And to prove it, quote unquote, I'm going to prove it to God. I'm going to sell all my, give everything away, and I'm just going to study. Because when I come back, I'm going to do this music. I want to be in the Word. All my stuff is going to be on point.
Yes.
And so I took off almost like you said, about 3 years, about a 3-year period. I sold everything. And people who knew me was like, man, because everybody knew Walter and music was synonymous.
Right.
And my partner, he was like, "Hey man, you want to come up?" I would go to his house in the studio. He would have some brand new equipment. I wouldn't even touch the keys. It was like a curse or something to me. I don't know why, but I wouldn't even, hey man, can you lay down? I wouldn't do anything. For a 3-year period, I didn't touch any music. I sold all my stuff, and it wasn't until after that, about that 3-year period, that I got married, and then I just wanted to do. Excuse me, I bought my first little keyboard workstation because I told myself I just want to get some ideas. And then I ended up a whole music ministry called Child of the King. And that whole process was just about, at that point, I was kind of frustrated with what I saw in the Christian gospel scene. I was like, it was just seemed to be so worldly from the point of, it was all about them. And I like, Lord, I want to do something just for you. I said, so I created this ministry music called Child of the King, where there would be no credit on the CDs that I did. It wouldn't say who wrote this, who sang this, who played this. I'm nobody. I'm just a child of the King. I don't want you to get, because a lot of times we get kind of, oh, who wrote this or who produced this or this, that. And so I don't want to do none of that. So I gathered like-minded musicians who were, had their free time. And I did like about I ended up doing about 4 or 5 Child of the King CDs that I would just give them away for free. I wasn't trying to sell them. All the people gave me their free time. I would write the music and I would bring people in. I would fly people. I would actually fly people from Illinois back to Ohio, some vocalists and stuff that I knew, so it cost me. And then it cost, back then it cost maybe like, a couple of $1,000 to press 1,000 CDs, so, but it was just a music ministry. And that's what I started doing. And then when I transitioned from that, my last Child Teen project was in 2018. It came out in December 2017, and then that's when I happened to stumble upon music licensing and transitioned to that, and so I've been doing that ever since.
That's incredible. That was a great segue, because I was going to ask about, what the curiosity was, what the interest was, and how you transitioned. So you can just go ahead and take over from there.
It's crazy because I didn't know a thing about music licensing. I never heard of it, never anything. And you know how you can be perusing YouTube and these ads just pop up? That's literally how it happened. I was at my job and I was just perusing YouTube, and this little ad came up about a music licensing course. This guy named Jesse Josephine. He has a very strong YouTube channel called Synch My Music. Now, a lot of people are doing it now, but he was the first. So he's very knowledgeable. And then, so he had like about 5 like 10-minute little videos about what it was, how do you get into it and everything. And I just kind of felt it. And then, of course, he wants you to sign up for his classes. I never signed up to the classes, but he had a lot of great content and information on his YouTube page. And so I just grew from that. And then I found a couple of other people who were in the sync spaces. Jesse, a man named Marlon Gibbons, and then another local Ohio brother named Clint Anthony. He's actually from Toledo, and he went to school here at Ohio State. He's down in Atlanta now. He's a young brother. I saw just perusing their channels and just kind of learn the sync game. And I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And I was like, man, I wish I would have found out about this a long time ago. But God had it come to me when it did. So I started, learning how to do music. I had to totally reteach myself. And I tell people when you get in the sync game, it's not the same as if you're trying to do an album or put some songs on Spotify, what have you. It's a whole different thing. And I learned how to do that. And they're just kind of self-taught and perusing and watching other videos and stuff. And then I started reaching out to my first libraries. And later that year, I actually got signed to my first music library later that probably like September or August of that same year when I started. So, but yeah, I cut my teeth on how to do it, and like I said, I'm so grateful. So now it's been like about 6 years that I've been in the game, in the sync game. I've had it was a struggle at first, but I've had some fairly good success right now. And my only regret, if I had a regret, I was like, man, I wish I would have known about this 20, 30 years ago, because I know I would be killing the game by now. I mean, not being braggadocious, I'm just saying, man, I know this. If I knew about this at 25, I could, I could just do this full time. So it's my long term goal to be able to do sync licensing, music licensing full time.
Yes.
In return, I have to do my quote unquote real job. So that's kind of how I got into it. Like I said, it was just a stumble. I had never even heard of any other little music licensing terms. I never even heard of it, man. It was literally it was just a guy thing. Like I said, I was just happened to see these little commercials come up on YouTube. Like, oh, let me click on this.
And there you go.
And well, there you go. The rest of history.
I know that you're not a braggadocious guy, but some of the credits that you've been dropping were, and been blessed to participate in Law and Order, SWV, NFL.
That was a huge one.
You know what I mean? The Real Wives of Atlanta, Real Housewives of Atlanta, BET, NFL. I mean, you've just been blessed, man. That's a real good thing. And what I guess, I guess after this this segment is over, you'll have to mentor two people, Robbie and myself. but one of the things that you're right about, and I want to, I guess, demystify the world of sync through your eyes, is that there are so many people who are teaching courses. I took Michael Elsner's course, Master Music Licensing. Barry Coughing at Music Supervisor. I've interviewed Michelle Weiss Maslin, and so I'm
I know Michelle.
kind of beginning to walk and get my feet wet in this world of sync. But everyone seems to tell you the thing is, it's incredibly hard and the chances are slim to none. But to demystify that through your eyes, you didn't see that much opposition when you came in the game. Is that correct?
Well, first of all, let me clarify. What they're telling you is slim to none as far as what? Getting the
as
placement,
far as getting in and getting a
library?
placement, and all of that. It seems to me, as the material that I come up against, is that it's just pretty much a closed door, and you have to really just grind and sweat. And
no. Let me just spell that for everybody. I'm not sure somebody give you some bad information. That is completely not true. I'm not calling nobody no liar. I'm just gonna say that's not true. And I'm not just saying that's me. I'm just saying that's not true. Here's the thing, because some people also will say, some people will say, oh, well, the music licensing thing is oversaturated. And it's not. Now, granted, there are far more people into it than it was 6 years ago. And you can tell by that, just because, like I said, 6 years ago, if you went on YouTube and put in music licensing, the only thing was going to come up was Jesse. Now there's all type of people that have channels and everything, but Jesse was like the first. But there's so many channels, there's so many shows, there's so much music. Just to give you an example, you mentioned so one of my plays on let's say Housewives of Atlanta or Black Ink Crew. The average reality TV show uses 100 pieces of music per episode.
Wow.
This is it. 100 pieces of music on one episode. They generally, like a show like Black Ink Crew, will have like 22 episodes in a season. And that show's been on for 9 years. I'm not a math person, but just think about how much music that is.
That's exactly correct. Yes.
So there's opportunities for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There is plenty of opportunities. There's no really gatekeepers. There's no gatekeepers in the industry per se, but there are gatekeeper people.
I see.
And I see, unfortunately, I see that just in the producer community. You know, uh, I don't know why people do that. Me being a man of faith, my thing is what God has for me, I'm gonna get it. Can't no man stop it. So I don't mind sharing you with you or Robbie or giving somebody else game.
Yeah.
I'm not in competition with you. I'm not going to say, oh, I won't keep this. I'm not going to, because a lot of producers and people say, well, I don't want to share my technique because they might steal my sound. That's foolish. To me, that's foolishness.
Yeah.
Because
Understood.
I know there's people that's way better than me, but I
Understood.
just do what I do.
Right.
And I've been blessed. But no, there's plenty of opportunities. You just have to, people just lack knowledge. And so that's why I have, I teach my classes. I have my music licensing 101 advanced. I have my music licensing 102 just to kind of dispel a lot of things. A lot of people don't know. And I tell people, you don't know what you don't know. And so get the information.
True.
I didn't, it is difficult to get into a music library. It's even difficult trying to even find music libraries because they don't really just, advertise, hey, I'm a music library, we want your music, because they get inundated with so many people. But there are resources, and I have resources that I give in my classes and stuff, but you can get into it. Believe me, like I said, I'm nobody's super musician. Like I said, I was able to, but I will say someone who have tried, they may feel that way because in the music licensing game, there is rejection. You're going to get rejected all the time.
Sure.
It doesn't matter what level. I don't care if you're just starting to get in the game. If you've been a veteran already established in the game for years. Someone like you mentioned Michelle, who I know she's an Emmy-winning composer. She's been in the game for years.
Years and years, yeah.
And they will tell her, she will submit, no, I'm sorry, that's not it. We don't want that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I'm just using her as an example. It doesn't matter what levels you are. You don't get to a certain level in the sing game and say, oh, well, I'm this, so I know they're gonna no.
It just
but what I try to encourage people, especially on LinkedIn, and that's really kind of the only social media that I do. I try to encourage people that just because someone says no or don't respond, that does not mean that your music sucks.
right.
It doesn't mean that they don't want it. It could be a whole plethora of meanings.
Sure.
And so people have rejected me, and I gave an example. I posted where I did a whole album and I sent it to 3 music library CEOs. They all said no. None of them, all of them loved the music, but they all said no for different reasons. Okay, so what were the reasons? First of all, they didn't have to let me know. Most times they don't, but they share with me the reason why. One said, hey, we have decided as a company not to bring on any more composers. Okay, so that's one. They were able to share that with me. Another one said, hey, we've been inundated because of COVID with so much music from the composers we already have on the roster. We don't have time to go through some new music, but hit me back up in about 6 months and it'll free me up. Okay. And then the other one said, we love your music, but we're trying to go in another direction as far as the style of music, but your stuff is on point. So you see, none of it was like, oh, well, no, you're trash, your music sucks, you shouldn't be in the business. It was just, they're all different things. But the problem is in the industry, a lot of times they don't give any feedback. They won't even respond to your emails. And so you thinking, the average person like, oh man, I don't know. But I try to just keep on keeping on, keep pushing. So I hope that that was a kind of a long way to you. But I encourage anybody. It's not. It is challenging. You do have to work. You do have to work. And I posted. It's funny. I don't know if you familiar with there's a DJ Khaled meme where he said, "Congratulations, you played yourself." And so
No,
it's kind of funny. I posted on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, and I said, okay, so you are the aspiring producer composer, and you finally, after months, maybe years of getting rejected or not getting emails answered, you finally get that one acceptance letter from a music library. You're so happy. And so you send that music off and you think, ooh, I'm going to sit back and kick back and make all this money in royalties. And I'm like, congratulations, you just played yourself. Because the hard work has just started.
that's correct.
Because I tell people in music licensing, you can't sit on one thing. I tell when I teach my class, I tell my students, you have to put your head down. That says compose, complete, send away, repeat. You compose the music, you complete the music, you send it to the library, repeat the process. You have to keep going because it is a numbers game. The more music you have in the sync world, the more opportunity you have for placement. So you can't just do a few tracks. You can't get happy because, oh, I got connected to this library and they got 5 of my songs, or this one got an album. You got to do a plethora of songs.
Yes.
I mean, I've been grinding, and like I said, I have a full-time job and a big family and everything else, and I try to, because I know it's a number game. So I've now, when I first started, I don't have maybe 20 tracks when I first kind of sent to my first library. Now I got over 1,000 cues because I just try to grind and set myself goals. Okay, I'm gonna try to do 100 plus new songs a year or whatever. And so I tell anybody, there is plenty of opportunities. You just have to know how to format the music. You have to know who to approach, and more importantly, man. And this is one of the things I stressed in my Music 101 class. You will be surprised how many people lose opportunity because they don't have everyday just common sense of being professional.
Wow.
And this is what I'm getting from people in the industry, from CEOs of music libraries and stuff they have to deal with. So one of the things I've been blessed to do when I have my offer my music licensing 102 class, I actually have CEOs of people who are on the other side telling you as composers, this is what we see, this is what you don't want to do.
Certainly.
And that's the common thread. People don't, they're just unprofessional.
Yes. Yeah.
And so they don't know how to navigate.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. People skills, courtesy, timeliness.
Yes.
These are
Yes.
things that promptness. I mean, right down
Yes.
the line. Grammar, even in emails. I understand.
Exactly. And like I said, I think the biggest drawback is people don't know how to format music. And I constantly post on LinkedIn. I'll say, hey, if you are submitting a song for music licensing, like you would putting up on Spotify, you're doing it wrong. It's not going to work. Music for television or for film is totally different. So I give you an example. Something as simple as, well, on the radio on Spotify, you have an average song, 3-minute song, what have you, and it fades out. If you send music to a music library with a fade out, they might ban you. They don't want to hear that mess. That's because automatically you show to them that you're unprofessional and you don't know the business. You see what I'm saying? Just some, and I know it may seem so innocent, be like, well, I didn't know. There's some good songs. Yeah, but they perceive you as to be illiterate and you don't know the business, and they don't have time. And most people in the sync licensing industry are not going to give you game or tell you, no, you just how you should do it. Submit it. They're like, oh no, I ain't got time because there's too many other people trying to get at them. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's just people just have to get knowledge and find out how to do it and what not to do.
Yes, sir.
And then and then have another thing I teach my students is have an attitude of servitude. You have to have an attitude of servitude. Don't reach out to a music supervisor or music library. Hey, I'm this super guy and I got chopped and I can do this, that, and what can you do for me? No, you need to come at them as, hey, I've noticed that you have this in your catalog. I think I can provide a service for you and your clients.
Correct.
That's how you need to have a attitude of servitude, and that'll go a long way.
That is correct.
People.
Well, there seems to be a climate, unfortunately, of entitlement. Where one of the things that we talk about as an entre musician is always saying, "Hey, listen to my song, listen to my song, listen to my
Mhm.
songs. Like, why? Do you have a story? Can you, can you, is there some presentation that you can make that's better than just, hey, and we see it on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, platform you may be on, is they'll just throw the song up and listen, but there's no context as to what this song is going to do for me, how it's going to make me feel, why I'm
Exactly.
going to benefit from listening to your song or connecting with you. So,
And
you
then
hit a lot of things. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
another thing I want to add to that servitude is in sync licensing, you have to get in the mindset that you're providing, not only providing a service, but you may have to do some music that you don't like. This is not about you doing your favorite. Okay, I can do reggae real good, so that's why I'm just gonna sing you reggae. Okay, but reggae is not really heavily licensed. And if you send into a show a music supervisor who's producing music for uh Housewives of Atlanta, they ain't really rocking that. So you need to learn other genres and do what they can license. You see
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? So if you're going to uh if you're going to a big corporation, like let's like to say like the Limited, which is based here in Columbus, a big clothing chain. Well, if you sell steel, you might be the baddest steel person, but Lex Wexner and Lex Wex, like with Jerry B. I'm glad that you do steel very well. I heard a lot about you, but I don't need steel.
That's
They
right.
need to do something else.
You got to give us what we need for.
Exactly, exactly. And as a composer, as an artist, you have to be able to do that and understand that, and take your ego out of it. A lot of musicians and producers have their egos in, like, oh, this is my little baby song, and I know that because they may not like it. They may say, hey, change this, change this. They might, so you totally have to change your mindset from when you get in the sync game from however you was as a producer, or as an artist in the regular world. Because another thing, misnomer, I tell people in sync licensing, you're not in the music industry. Let me say it out loud for the people in the back. You are not in the music industry. It is the entertainment industry. It is totally different.
Yes, sir.
It's totally different. So things that give you an example. Just a brief example.
Mhm.
So in the music industry world, someone will tell you, "Oh, you don't ever want to give up your publishing. Keep all your publishing. That's how you make your money. Keep your publishing." So that's applicable in the music industry.
Sure.
In sync licensing, you have to give up your publishing. That's part of it. That's how the music libraries make their money. You keep all your 100% of your writer shares, and they get your publishing. That's normal business. Nobody is trying to get over on you. But I'm saying, if you don't know that
Yeah.
and you have some type of big beef, people don't want to work with you. I had a very important matter of fact. It's funny that you mentioned Housewives of Atlanta. I had an opportunity. A music library reached out to me, said, "Hey, we got this exclusive deal to provide some special music for the Housewives of Atlanta franchise, but they want some women empowering music." So obviously, I'm not a woman. I can do the music, but I want to get some vocals, some raps, or whatever. So I engaged this very, very talented female rapper. Told her what the deal was. Said this is a great opportunity. This is where we can get the music right, directed to the producers of the show. We can skip a whole lot of it. And she was fine. And then when it came to sign the contract with the music license, she got stuck and had a big to do about, oh, they're gonna try to steal my music. The music library, they're gonna take our publishing. I'm like, no, that's part of the business. I tried to tell her, and we missed out on the whole opportunity because of her ignorance. Because she was thinking like, I'm like, this particular music library is very reputable. They've been in the game for 30 years. They're not in the business stealing music. They're trying to license music. That's how they make money. But she couldn't understand that, and so she lost the opportunity. Phenomenal artist, but
Wow.
she almost blacked this because she really just went left about the whole thing, just with a lack of knowledge. So,
Mm.
like, there's something like that. You have to know a game and know that everything doesn't translate
Yeah.
uh, in sync. Another thing that people always say, Well, you have to copyright all your stuff. Yeah, in the music you might do that. In the sync license, you don't do that. I don't. All the big time producers I know in the sync license, we don't copyright our stuff. You'd be broke trying to copyright every little key. You don't have to worry about, but you don't have to worry about that. People get caught up. Oh, I gotta. You no, you don't. You don't. You really don't. I'm here to tell you, you don't. And people aren't. You know, the music industry, and rightfully so, has a facade of being kind of surly and kind of underhanded, and it is. Music licensing is not like that. Like I said, understand you're in the music entertainment business,
Yes.
not the music business. And people, when they say they're gonna pay you, they're gonna pay you. They're gonna write checks. They ain't gonna be like, oh well, I know some producers who no, I know producers who've gotten quote places with artists, and the record company tried to screw them over. You ain't got to worry about that in the sync game. It's a whole different thing.
That's
So
that's cool. Let's demystify a couple more points because we
okay.
talk about the libraries. Are you more prone to working with libraries and directly with music supervisors because there's a perception that they are the gatekeepers and they're holding everybody at bay, where the libraries are more open to music, or how's been your experience with both?
Okay, so I haven't personally really pursued music supervisors as much. I have a couple of relationships. I've messaged some and told them, thank you for, because they've used my music in different shows, and they responded back to me, but I haven't came at them like, hey, I got some music for you. I mainly stay in the lane of the music libraries. That's the more popular way. That's the more way that you can be, because they already have all the relationships with the music supervisors, with the production companies, with the studios, and so if you get in there, you good. So that's where I would pursue. That's what I would encourage my students to pursue. Anybody getting into it, I would, because understand, music supervisors are very, very, very busy, and they get inundated, overwhelming, and they usually have their people that that they have music for. And then the thing about a music supervisor, they're only going to be concerned about whatever project they're working on right now. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm a music supervisor, and let's say I'm working on, let's say, a documentary on JFK, and you come at me with, man, I got this killer hip hop music. Well, it may be real good, and I may be able to use it sometime later, but I'm working on this. I need some, theme music in this. You see what I'm saying? Whereas if you went to a music library, they're doing everything all at the same time. They're dealing with people who are working with the JK, and they're dealing with hip hop, and they're living with soft rock and EDM. You see what I'm saying? So it's more opportunity. I would say pursue music libraries, and there's a whole bunch of music libraries to pursue. So I would say that's the best avenue to get at and to pursue. And that's one of the things I talk about in my music licensing 102 masterclass. I actually give you a guide with hundreds of music libraries addresses to people to reach out to, but I also educate them, because I try to educate my students that it's not just about having a list of addresses and emails and people to reach out to, but I teach them how to study, because you have to do your research, because all the music libraries are different. They all have different clientele. So I tell people, but a lot of people don't study and do the research. If let's say if your music library is mainly doing pop, mainly your clients is pop, I could be the baddest country producer, since whoever. But you don't need that. That's not your clientele. So I'm not going to send it to you.
Right.
And then you might be inclined to say, well, we really don't have no country. We might get a little country, but it's going to sit on their shelves. So I try to encourage you to do your research on a lot of these music libraries, clientele. They show you their client. You see what type of shows they work with, what they do. And then you can kind of, a lot of times you can peruse their catalog and see if you will even be a good fit.
Right.
And then more importantly, because this is a thing that a lot of people miss on, more importantly, not only can you do your research to see if they'll be a good fit, but here's the cheat code. You get to listen to music that's already in their catalog, and you get to see and hear how to format your music.
There you go.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Oh, so that's how you see how it ends and the transition points and all. So you can see and actually hear licensable music
Yeah.
and kind of self check yourself.
Right. Right.
Because then you may, oh well, wait a minute, my production level's down here. I need to bring it up. I need to practice some more.
Wow.
Because
That's
a lot of people not self-aware, but I said when I give them this guide, I said, be self-aware enough to know that, okay, wait a minute, my mixing chops ain't up to par. But you get to hear, you're hearing what they call a brief. So a music library, a lot of times, if they say, hey, they may reach out to me and say, hey, Walter, the producers for the Tyler Perry sisters want this type of music, and they'll send a brief. And the brief is they'll send you actual type of music that the music producers of the show say, we want music kind of sound like this. So you get a blueprint. So
right.
that's why I try to train my students with the music library. Not all of them have a website that's open to the public
Sure.
for their clients, but a lot of them do. But you can actually get a blueprint and hear music, whatever your genre. You can hear what it sounds like, how it's supposed to sound like. You can hear the production quality. You can hear where it stops, where it stopped. And so I tell people, before, don't get all happy. Oh, now I got an email address and I'm just gonna send some stuff off, and your stuff ain't even ready. You playing yourself. You know what I'm saying? That they get all excited, like, ooh, let me send this off. Like, no, 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 no. Just do your research, study. You know,
That's perfect. That's perfect. I have a couple more questions. You're
no
pushing
problem.
buttons because you're actually eliciting questions in me. But before we go there to a couple other questions I have, let's talk about the course and how people can contact you for the course. And we'll put that information in the description box for the podcast. But how can they get in touch with you? What do you offer in your course? What are the prices so that someone who's listening or watching can go, yeah, I love what Walter's saying. Let me try to get with him now.
Well, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but the one thing I have coming up right quick this coming Friday at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time, I have a what I call questions for Walter. So you can register. It's $25, and I will answer any question you have regarding music licensing, sync licensing, and music production as it relates to music licensing. So I'm not saying it's not, hey, listen to my track and tell me what do you think. It's not that, because it has to be in relation to music production. So that's a jump off. If you always had questions or just want to, like I said, I tell people all the time, you don't know what you don't know. I'm not going to fault you for you because you don't know. But here's an opportunity where they can relate. It'll be via Zoom. Uh, if you can find me on LinkedIn, just type in Walter Bowie, you'll find me.
Hmm. Well, I
I
can
I
tell
post
you,
a lot of times, so you can see
yes, you
me.
do, and I do a lot of liking, but your stuff is on. But I got to tell you, this will have all the Friday would have already passed by the time that this
Okay.
airs. But what is the regularity? Do you do it once a month or
Well,
twice a
this is
month?
my first time doing this. So I think I may do it once a month. But if you also look me up, I'm always talking about my music licensing class. So I have a music licensing 101 class, which is a basic introduction to letting people know what you need, what it is, what it's not, those type of things. And all of my classes are an hour and a half via Zoom. And they're called, actually, the class is called Music Licensing 101 Advanced One-on-One and Music Licensing 102 Advanced One-on-One. So what that is, what you get with that package is, I used to set up classes like particulars, like I might say this class is going to be this Saturday, and I posted for a month, and a lot of people hit me up and say, oh, I can't make that class because I got this event or that event. So what I've kind of changed it now is one-on-one. So what I do is you register for the class, and we have the class with just you. The class used to be open for whoever registered for, so it may be 10 people in it, 15 people. Now this class, that's what I call one-on-one. You register for the class, and we schedule around your schedule. So instead of Saturday at noon, oh, I can't make that. My baby's girl got this game. You tell me, you give me several dates. You say, hey, I can do a Wednesday from 8 to 9:30. Okay, that's when we'll do it. So it's just a one-on-one thing. And then after the 1.5 hour class, you get the Zoom video session so you can keep to refer back to what was taught. And then after a month from that class, you get a 1 hour counseling one-on-one just to follow up. Okay, what did you do with it? How's it going? So right now, I think the one-on-one class, Alex, if you just, I have it posted on LinkedIn. I want to say I think the one-on-one class it's on sale for 150, and then I think the 102 class is 250. Now, like I said, I would encourage you, if you don't know anything about license, I would start with the 101. The 102 is more advanced. The 102 gives you kind of the more intricate things of the business side. You also get the reference guide, the music reference guide, which is about a $50 value in itself. It has like over 500 real music libraries that you can actually reach out to, their websites, to people, to contact people. And
Yeah.
then you also get about a 45-minute interview, one-on-one interview with two uh, music library CEOs from one of the music libraries that I actually work with. And these guys are just dropping gems and game to you. So you can't get that from other people. So these are people actually, in the industry saying, okay, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to do it, and go about your business. So those are the two classes that I offer. Then sometimes I offer later on in the year, I have what they call a music licensing for music production. So I show you my production steps on how I do my music for that. But even if I do a lot of teaching things through LinkedIn, like I said, that's my only social media. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you won't find me. That's the only thing I do. But every Wednesday, you can just type in DNA. I post what I call DNA of the track. I've been doing that for a couple of months, and it's been very popular. And what I do is I post actual music that I've been placed, and I show you my production screen, and you can see what plugins I use. I list what VSTs I use. You see how I structure, so you can just learn from there. If you're a visual learner, I post those every Wednesday religiously, and I'm up to 31. I've been doing it now for 31 weeks. So yeah, so there's a lot of resources. And I try to give little tidbits and game on LinkedIn all the time.
Well, I'm so grateful that you were able to stop by to drop all of the knowledge that you have. I got to ask you a couple more questions, though. We can't,
No problem, brother.
I know I told you, I said,
Hey
it's
man,
going to
hey,
be.
hey, man, hey, you got me. I'm here for you. So I have no time constraints. So this is whatever you want to do.
Well, I appreciate it, but you are really hitting a lot of nails on the head. And like I said, with respect to the mystifying, because of course, I mean, there are people who are watching, people who are listening, who have, like I, been interested in sync. Maybe they've taken this course or watched those YouTube videos and whatnot, but it's nothing like hearing it from the person who is actually receiving the placements. I mean, you know what I mean? That actually, this is how I got in. This is why I got in. This is what I've learned. These were my mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. And man, just to give that drop of you can actually watch and see the plugins that I use, the VSTs, how I go
Exactly.
about. That's love right there.
Yeah, like I said, that's what I try to do, man. Because I like I said, I don't know why some people in the producer community think, oh, I'm going to keep this. They don't want to let you know what type of 808 sound to you because you gonna steal this. Like I said, I know I'm a different animal. I know I'm a different breed. My thing is, whatever God got for me, He
Right.
got for me.
It's yours.
I'm not pressed about it, and that's one of the things I posted. I posted an article and I reposted just this week. I said the rejection is real. And
Mm.
a lot of people, I have a lot of followers and a lot of people that like my stuff on LinkedIn. And I said, people always see my successes. I want to post what some may perceive as a loss. And what I posted was a rejection email from a library that I submitted to recently. And I said, and they were like, hey, basically it was thanks, but no thanks. And I said, I just want to show this. I said, now, why did they say no? I said, is it because uh, my music is not on point? I said, well, you know better. Anybody who's been following me for a while, you've heard my music, you know that's not the case.
Right.
I said, is it because maybe it wasn't music licensable? So you can have good music, but it might not be music licensable. I said, well, that can't be the case either, because the show reel that I sent them, most of that music was stuff that has already been placed on shows like Law and Order, CBS. But you know what I'm saying? Those are big time shows. So it wasn't like it ain't placeable. I said, so what is it? I said, I don't know. You would have to ask the library why they rejected. I said, but what I did, I stayed professional. I said I did not get mad, sad, depressed, angry. I said none of those things. I stayed professional, responded, thank you for your time. Have a blessed day.
That's it.
And kept it moving. And I said, as a man of faith, because I believe whatever God got for me, he has for me. And if he doesn't give me the opportunity, I don't want it.
Right.
So I'm not worried about it. I'm like, oh, now there used to be a time like, oh man, I got another rejection email, or whatever. No, I just keep it moving.
That's it.
Because I know, and I try to tell my students, I said, the first thing I tell my students in Music 101, I said, if you don't have thick skin, if you fall away just because somebody tell you no, then this is not for you. If you're looking for quick money, this is not for you.
There you go.
It's a long game. It's a long game. I could get, I don't know, what was a big show? Let's say the NCAA finals. Let's say you had, it could be the Super Bowl. You could get a placement on the Super Bowl. You're not going to get paid for that for almost a year later. It's a long game, so you just have to know that. And it's going to be like 10 cents. It's going to be $1.50. It's going to be $1.35. It's going to be $20. It's going to be $70. It's going to be $200. It's going to be 50 cents. That's just how royalties go. But they accumulate. But the more you keep working, like I said, compose, complete, send away, repeat. It's like the snowball effect. It literally is. It's tiny. It keeps rolling out here and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And like I said, those placements are nice. Like I said, the Law and Order is especially to me, one, because it came from a library that I'm a partner with that I wouldn't think would come from that library. Mm. One, two, it's special because I'm only now you realize Law and Order has been around for about almost 25 years, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm only one of only 20 composers that have ever gotten music on that show.
Wow.
Out of 20-some years. Because most of that music on that show is done by the phenomenal composer Michael Post that does a whole bunch of stuff. That little dun, that little stinger that brother got paid millions of dollars for about a 5-second little stinger.
2 notes
over 25 years. But no, he's done a whole lot of different shows. But I'm just saying that
I understand.
I wish I had that one little stinger. that get played about 20 times each show. But I was honored that I was only, when I went to see, I was like, man, because most of the music on that show is just stuff that he does. And so I was fortunate to get on that. So I like that. And that was a nice, big, hefty placement.
Yes.
But on the front side, when you have shows like, and I really don't watch none of this television, especially the reality shows. I get stuff I got placed on the show, what's the show called? Love After Lockup, or it's on WeTV. It's a show where people have relationships with people in prison, and it's a crazy show.
It's a reality show. Then,
yeah, it's a reality show. But here's the thing: on those reality shows, that placement may just be like $5, but they will air that show about 5 or 6 times on the first day. Uh-huh. So over time, it end up being maybe more money than a big, Law and Order placement or the Blacklist or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Because those reality TV shows, here's the way they do it. If it airs, or a very popular show like Catfish on MTV. So what happens, it'll air originally, let's say at 8:00 on a Friday. Then it'll re-air again at 11 p.m. Then it'll re-air again at 2 a.m. Then it'll re-air again at 5 a.m. So the first day, you got about 5-6 placements on one show.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's good money. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It's just that's just how it is. But I try to encourage people that you can do it. Like I said, there was a time that I almost quit, and I've posted that before. I had been doing, like I said, I got signed to my first library August of 2018, and I had been doing 2018. I had been doing it was almost 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't seeing any placements. Now, people have to understand, if you get a placement, the library is not going to call you and say, "Hey, Mr. Bowie, you got a placement." Then that's not their job. They're not going to tell you that.
Certainly.
They may be so kind to say, "Hey, we place up," but just know that most time they don't. So you don't know you get a placement until you get your royalty statements, which are only quarterly.
Yes, sir.
Now, there is a software that I'm a part of. Is a software called TuneSat that it has an algorithm where it will trace all your placements, anything that was placed. So you can kind of find out in real time, and that's how I find out now when I post stuff on LinkedIn, when I say I got this placement, because it has given me this information to know that. But they normally don't tell you, and so I was about ready to quit. It had been like, it was about just a little bit more than 2 years, and I'm with BMI, and the BMI royalty statement was coming out, and once again I didn't get no check, and I was just like, man, I didn't put in a lot of time learning this. I didn't put in money, I didn't say no to the family. I didn't done this, trying to hone in my craft in sync licensing. And I'm just about to just say, I was like, I should be saying something, because I know I know I was making some decent music. I just couldn't see any placements, and I knew from talking to BMI. I'm not sure if it's the same with ASCAP, but with BMI, you have to have a minimum amount before they even send you a check. So if you have less than $100 in royalties, they won't email you the check. They'll just keep it until it gets bigger.
Right.
And I was like, oh man. And so I actually emailed one of my mentors, Winty Morris. He's one of the CEOs of Morris and Young Music Library that I do business with. I said, hey man, I think I just need to take a break from this, because he's like, I understand, but he just encouraged me to say, hey man, your stuff is really important. I'm not sure why these, music supervisors. He really just kind of encouraged me, but I understand you want to take away, you're good with us. That was on a Friday night. I remember that vaguely, because that was the weekend before one of my sons was getting ready to get married that Saturday. That following Monday, man, let's what the old folks used to say, hold my mule while I get my shot on. God stepped in, and that brother called me like, man, that following week, man, I got a major placement, because I had done an album with one of my sons, who's a very talented rapper, and his stuff got placed on he had 2 songs placed on Black Ink Crew New York.
Wow.
So that happened. So I finally saw that, and then so I was actually able to see that, and then I got placed on this new show. There was this new series on MTV, this new kind of true crime show that the rapper Remy Ma was narrating, and they just started flowing. I mean, literally, they just started flowing, and then the next royalty check, I got a real nice, big royalty check. And behind the scene, that's when I got that NBC Law and Order. So it was like right when I was, and I used the little cartoon, you probably seen it, where the man is underground and he's chipping away in the ground, and he's just about to give up, not seeing all the diamonds behind it. And I put in the caption, I said, that was almost me. I almost gave up. And I encourage people, I said, don't give up, man. Right when you think that it ain't worth it, God stepped in. Bam. And they've been flowing everything. And so I went from not getting no placements to maybe I might get one, every 2 or 3 months. Now I get multiple placements a week. Praise God.
Praise God.
It's a God thing. It ain't me. I'm not, as I said, I'm not the baddest. I'm not the most efficient musician. I know there's people way better than me, But I tell people, you will not outwork me.
That's it.
I'm going to work on my work, and I'm going to perfect and keep doing it. So I just try to be encouragement to everybody that it's not easy, but if you persistent, you can make money. And there's plenty of room for everybody. There are hundreds of libraries. There are thousands of TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
And like I told you the ratio on the average. Now it's not as much music on network shows, but like I said, there's so many reality TV shows, and when the average show is using 100 pieces of music, come on, man, there's room for everybody to eat.
That's right.
And so I'm willing to share game, so you can come to the table and eat too. I ain't gonna be like, no, I don't want you to get none. I ain't gonna be like that.
Carve the turkey.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you about sync agents with respect to the libraries and how open the libraries are. How necessary is it for a person who's starting out to hire an agent to shop their music for them?
That's a new phenomenon that's kind of came into the scene maybe the last maybe 4 or 5 years. That's kind of been popular. I still would say if you're just starting out, I would say no, don't spend no money. Don't. I know some sync agents and they have some connection. They do that, but here's the thing: the sync agents are going to either want some upfront money or they're going to want to take a piece of your royalty or whatever deal they negotiate. They're not just doing it at the kindness of their heart. They're just not.
Sure, of course.
Because that's their business, and I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, on the other end, music supervisors are very inundated and very busy. So I just stay in the middle. Well, I tell people just stick with music libraries. They're not gonna take your money, and you know that now there are some music libraries that hey, we want to pay this fee. Stay away from them. Stay away from those. You ain't got to do that.
If they're asking you to pay a fee to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't need to do that. Stay away from that. I'm not saying they're not reputable, but just you don't need to do that. There's too many other people, and just understand and know your rights. And I tell people it's okay to tell music libraries no.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, and here's what I mean. I had because I've been posting my music, 3 or 4 or 5 times a week on LinkedIn. I had a music CEO of a music library reach out and say, "Hey, I like this one little music. You think you could do some stuff for my music library?" I like, well, sure. I'm in the middle of finishing up this project for one of my music library partners, but when I get done, give me about a week or so, I can do some music for you. Okay. So I submitted about 6 songs of this kind of genre of music that he wanted. Sent it to him. Didn't hear nothing back. 2 weeks went by. Didn't hear nothing back. I'm like, hey, finally 3 weeks ago, I was like, hey, what's going on with the music that He said, oh yeah, I think I'm just gonna keep this music on my laptop right now in the folder, and then maybe I'll get with you later. I'm like, oh no. I said, I kind of responded professional. I said, sir, I said, first of all, this is music that you requested from me. I didn't approach you, you approached me. I said, but all of my music have to work for me. So I can't have my music being stagnant on somebody's laptop. I'll kindly take my music back, and I submitted it to another library, and a month later, 2 of those songs was placed on growing up hip hop. You see what I'm saying? And he was just gonna just keep it on his laptop.
Right.
So you can tell libraries no. You can tell libraries now. There's different agreements, but I'm just going to kind of get so people can have a parameter of what the standard music licensing agreement. There's different variants of this, but the standard one is you will split the upfront sync fees with the library 50-50. You will get 100% of the writer's shares. They get 100% of the publishing shares. Like I said, that's totally normal in the entertainment business. Now, I don't care what you heard in the music in the music industry, but in music license, that's how that's how they make their money. And then you get the back end royalties. That's just a standard. And if you deal with an exclusive library, which all the libraries I deal with are exclusive, most of the times that's to perpetuity. So they'll have it forever. They own it forever.
Yes.
So that's a standard. But I recently encountered a library. A guy reached out to me, and they looked like they had some great clients and some stuff, and I would really want to work with them. And they was going to have me doing this special project on this kind of network. Had this vein with some true crime stuff, which is my, was one of my main lanes I can really get down in. And I was all excited, and they got time to the contract stuff. They're like, yeah. And then he sent me the contract, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, just let me ask a question, because it's just saying what I'm saying. But I think it's like, well, we would take 100% of the publisher shares. We'll split 50-50, but then we want 50% of the writer's shares. I'm like,
oh,
oh, no. I said, I'm sorry, bro. We can't do that.
yeah.
That's it. I said, as a composer, because this CEO, he was also a composer. I said, we composers have it too hard out here in this game to give up. I said, I can't see why I'm giving part of my royalty for something that you had nothing to do with.
Correct.
And he said, I understand. He said, but a lot of the networks and production companies are squeezing the music libraries and want to get some of their publishing and royalties. And so that's the only way we can kind of really do business. So he said, would you mind, maybe I'll give you 60 week before. I said, no, bro. So he was trying to work with me. I said, no, man, I can't do that. I just a good conscience. I can't do it because I know I don't have to. And so I want to empower people that I tell you so to tell people you can say no, even if you don't have any, even if you're not signed with the music library yet. I would have said the same thing. I wouldn't have said, oh, this is my first library, so I'm just going to, you see what I'm saying? And I know you old enough to know that people in the industry that have given up a whole lot of stuff just for the sake of, oh, I got signed. And then so no, stay true to your virtues, stay true to yourself. You don't have to do that. Just if, as a matter of fact, I'm going to say, just trust God, just process that it'll work out. You don't have to just sign your name on anything just because. Just say, oh, no, that I can't do that.
I don't want the Cadillac. I want the cash.
Exactly.
Another question that you can demystify for us, and I guess we're going to have to do like a part 2. You're going to have to come back at some point.
No problem, brother.
But there have been a lot of talk about the different loops and loop libraries and whatnot, and what the music libraries will accept and not accept, because obviously they are concerned about getting sued or copyright infringement and whatnot with clearing the loop. So how do you navigate all of the libraries that you must contend with in the creation of your work, which are license-free libraries, and submitting them to the music libraries that you deal with? Or do you just stay away from that aspect of it totally?
That is an excellent question. And that is a very hot topic in the music licensing game. So I'm glad you brought that up. So a lot of people know about platforms like Splice or Sounds, Native Instrument Sounds, or it may be I forgot the other one that's over in England. These loop services, even though their loops are royalty free and you can legally use them, more and more libraries do not want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. They want you to stay away from it. And here's the reason why: because people would, we're in a sue happy society. People are trying to sue you for anything, even though they got the same loop that you got it from. They're trying to say, hey, so I might take this, nice little bass line and drum beat, and you happen to take the same drum beat and bass line, and we both have the same drum line basically, and I did something totally different. You did something totally different, and you hear that like, hey, Walter stole my song. And you can file a claim and call it big beef, and supervisors and companies and music, like, they don't want to deal with that. So now, if you want to use samples, if you want to, it's companies like Splice and stuff are great access to get drum sounds, 808 sounds, snare, percussion sounds, what have you. But the problem is happening is when you get a melodic loop and you don't change it any type of, you just like throw it in your production session. Come on now. That's when you can get in trouble. Now, right. There are some creative ways that you can change it and mix up, but 90% of producers and composers are too lazy and won't do that. or they might slow it down. That ain't slow. You got to like totally make it your own. If you're gonna use it, you got to do it like you got to slow it down, filter it, rearrange. You got to really do some stuff. But the best, the best bet is to just stay away from it, especially if you don't do it. Because, like I said, a lot of people get in that, and a lot of libraries now will say, "Hey, if you're doing this, we don't want you, and you don't want to get blacklisted because as much as many different libraries there are, it's still a very small community, and you don't want to get blacklisted." Because I know of another one of my mentors, Chuck Henry, who's the CEO of 10 West Music. He tells of a story where he had a composer send some music to him. And like, oh, this is pretty good. He assigned this new composer. He was talking to one of his other CEO friends of another music library, and they were like, "Hey, I got the same, composer dude on my library too," which is fine. You can be in multiple libraries. Come to find out, this guy was taking like demo songs from like loop packs and stuff and submitting it as his own. That brother got blacklisted. He got dropped and blacklisted because when people talk, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that was just crazy. But I say that I share that with you that don't think that these music library owners don't know each other, because they do, and they talk, and so that's why you want to have a good decorum, be professional, treat everybody, nice. I mean, just like I said, just simple stuff that people should know how to do, and they don't. So yeah, that's a great point. I would say if you're new or old, just if you get into sync licensing, excuse me, totally stay away from all the sample services. Even though they are you can legally use them in the sync license game, it's a no-no. A lot of people don't want to deal with it, so I wouldn't even go there.
That's really good. And so I'm grateful again for this demystification of a lot of, questions that just come down the pike. And, you want to make sure that you're not only relevant, but accurate to, what is needed. Because if you're going to put your heart and soul into it, which you should, because if you're going to go down the sync licensing game, then you need to know exactly what you're doing. So,
Exactly.
I completely, thoroughly, totally appreciate you coming on and helping us to like set it straight. But there's 100 questions that I want to ask you that I'm going to reserve for the next one. And keeping as a welcome mat is open to you, Walter.
Anytime, brother. Anytime, man. My wife would tell you, I love talking to people about music licensing and then music and the entertainment industry as a to licensing. Like I said, I wish I would have found out about it 25 years ago, but so now I'm just trying to, spread, take a text and preach the gospel of sync.
Absolutely. There was a song, I know we were roughly the same age, but there was a song by the Brothers Johnson back in the early 70s. As a matter of fact, they had an album called Right on Time, and the title track said, "In a minute, you'll be right on time." So God doesn't lose anything. You know what I mean? Exactly. He loses nothing, and he redeems the time where you thought it should have happened back then. You're right where you should be, man. And we are appreciative for it, that God knew what he was doing when he let you discover what you're now sharing very freely.
Yep. So, facts.
God bless you. Brothers and sisters, this is Walter Bowie, hit music producer as well as composer of Synch. A lot of great placements. You want to check him out on LinkedIn. He's nowhere else. So if you're not on LinkedIn and you're watching this, then you need to sign up real quick so that you can avail yourself to all of the information that this brother is doing. We'll see you next time, Walter.
All right, brother. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Well, I knew you were going to enjoy this episode of The Entree Musician. You absolutely want to avail yourself to everything that Walter Bowie is doing and what he teaches. So, again, when you sign off here at the Entre Musician, go on over to LinkedIn and check this brother out. Don't forget to stop by Amazon and pick up my best-selling book, The Path of the Entre Musician, 9 Keys to Unlock Your Mindset, Discipline, and Focus. Because if you're going to be an Entre Musician, you got to have these 3 elements absolutely unlocked. My name is Jerry B. It's been great being with you, sharing a conversation with Walter Bowie. And you know what is so important? You are an Entre Musician. You are. So come and visit us at theentremusician.com and let's hang out together. Let's grow together. That's what we do. Peace and blessings to you. We'll see you again next time. God bless.